We got some news that Nick Suzuki, Kaiden, Guhle, and other Habs were asked to visit the draft in Nashville in person by GM Kent Hughes. We're going to be talking about that, plus Juraj Slafkovsky, last year's #1 overall pick, is hard at work back in Slovakia donning his full Habs gear. Finally, we're going to be talking about Raphael RVP now and how he said this summer is going to be the hardest of his life for training so he can stay in the NHL. You won't want to miss this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's news edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, alongside my co-host, Jesse Poirier. And a quick reminder, as always, to hit subscribe. But we're bringing this back. 71% of you guys who are watching are not subscribed. Our videos have been doing amazing in the last month, and we really thank every single one of you who has been tuning into these videos. But a lot of you guys now, we're seeing a lot of new faces around here. So if you're a new face and you haven't hit that button and you love Habs news, we'd love to be your #1 source for it. So hit that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. Alright, Jesse, let's just get into this. It's cool, Nick Suzuki and some others will be at the draft in person. Now, that's not crazy news by NHL standards. Pretty much every team will send some players to the draft to go greet the newest member of the organization, but we're going to read a really poorly translated article from French to English from Simon-Olivier Larange from La Presse. But Nick Suzuki has been following with interest the recent NHL lottery that awarded the Canadian the 5th pick in the upcoming draft. We will have a very good player, he said. He was talking about Will Smith, Michkov, Karlsson, and some defenders that were jumping up to potentially the top 5. He said Guhle will also be there. And, quote, Kent Hughes asked a few guys to go. It should work out. Nashville's not too bad, said Suzuki with a laugh. So, Jesse, again, I know this isn't crazy in the NHL world. Lots of teams send players to the draft, but it's kind of interesting. You know, we saw Gallagher there last year with Juraj Slafkovsky, but to see Suzuki, Guhle, these young guys going to greet the newest young guy to join the Habs, I don't know. I think it's pretty cool.
It's the changing of the guard, right? Brendan Gallagher was there for us last year, representing the Habs on the draft floor, and we didn't know this time last year, we weren't aware of who would be the next captain of the Montreal Canadiens. So, of course, it makes sense now with the change in the guards. Of course, Nick Suzuki, our young captain now of the Montreal Canadiens, representing the team, also with Kaiden Guhle. And that's very interesting from my point that Kent Hughes would ask this young man specifically. And I wonder if it's a nod, and I'd like to get your opinion on this, Josh. Like, do you feel like Kaiden Guhle is part of the future leadership group of the Montreal Canadiens?
You know what? It wouldn't surprise me. Like, this kid is so mature. We saw that from the second he stepped on the NHL ice. Like, he just looks so mature. His game, his composure, his answers to the media, everything. So, and while he hangs out with the young guys and I'm sure has fun, like, I definitely see a world where he is an alternate captain to Nick Suzuki's captaincy. I mean, what do you think? Because to me, he just exudes maturity and leadership.
Exactly, right? And that's what you're looking for. And I think to have some leaders with your young guys, right? Because you need some younger, you need leaders with your older guys, but also leaders for your younger guys to kind of be leaders to their peers, right? And I think that'll help so much for the group. Sometimes when you have somebody a little bit closer to age, but that's really setting that really great example, you think to yourself as a young hockey player, okay, I can do this. I can emulate the type of player that Kaiden Guhle is on and off the ice. So I think it's really great to see. I think a subtle nod. I think a great choice. I think it's going to be great for him just for his experience. I think this is the type of nurturing you need to do. And also, I think it's great to see that Suzuki's kind of on the same page with us, with myself, on who we're liking, with that 5th overall pick. Himself mentioning Smith, mentioning Michkov, mentioning Karlsson. I think that these are the players we'd like to see. He did, definitely mention, how there are some defensemen that have been sneaking into the rumor mill top 5s. Maybe Nick Suzuki's a fan of the show. Maybe he's been checking out some of our vids, talking about that a little bit. But I'm glad to see that we're on the same page. And hopefully he's in Kent Hughes' ears talking about who he would like to join the team this year as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. One of Michkov, Smith, or Karlsson. To me, is an ideal world. I mean, we're seeing mock drafts with Ryan Bacher, with Ryan Leonard. These crazy ideas. I mean, hey, I fully trust Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton, but I think Suzuki, yeah, he's definitely on the same page. All right, well, let's move on to topic number 2, and Juraj Slafkovsky is back at work. We got a nice little video clip to show you guys. He's back in Slovakia training, and he's wearing his full Habs gear. You can see one of his, I guess one of his teammates from the Slovakian national team. Not sure who it is with him, but take a look at this. Doing some drills right behind the net, and shows off the hard shot first thing. Looking quick, I must say. He's looking like he's in full health, and then a nifty, dirty dangle, and the goalie just contemplates every single life decision that led him up to that point being in net against Juraj Slafkovsky. Jesse, I know this is a very short video clip, and obviously we don't want to draw any huge conclusions from a super short video clip, but my impression is that he's now going to be the greatest player of all time.
No, definitely. Like, if you're the goalie and you're seeing this huge, fast guy barreling down on you with hands like that, I just think it's absolutely amazing. Like, just great to see him on the ice, putting in that work. I feel like he's going to be really motivated to have a great year next year. You know, that's it. Just really looking good. I know for myself, like, I used to play a goalie in hockey, and I know, like, you might think, looking at me, oh, that was a grinder. I was basically a grinder in hockey pads. But if I was a goalie and I had Juraj Slafkovsky barreling down at me like that, being that quick, you know, that skilled, like, I'm worried. Like, that's definitely, it's making you not as confident. You're not coming out of your net as much. You know, because it's just, what is he going to do, right? He just has so many options. His reach is huge. His speed is just fantastic. So, I mean, even just seeing those clips and seeing the skill that he's putting on display there, I mean, it's really great to see. And we have all the hope in the world for Juraj Slafkovsky to be an amazing hockey player.
I think a lot of Habs fans are very quick to judge when it comes to him and when it comes to any prospect. And I don't blame you guys, of course, but, like, again, this kid is, 19? Right, he's not expected to be like a good NHL player for even maybe another year or two. The fact that he did what he did in the NHL is pretty impressive. He has a lot of development left to go. But Jesse, before we move on from Juraj, just a real quick note, he is outperforming guys like Fantilli and Leo Carlsson at the same age in the World Hockey Championship last year. Just what are your thoughts on that real quick? Do you think, what do you think of that? You know, Slafkovsky's numbers are just straight up better than these guys.
Considerably, you know, he outperformed their point production, you know, by 3 times, right? So yeah, absolutely, you know, and we know that it's these tournaments, it's not everything, and there's a greater body of work to kind of consider. But at the same time, with all that's been said about Fantilli and Carlsson, that if they were in the same draft year as Slafkovsky, that they would go so much higher than him. Well, you know, in the same tournament, right, we see that it's not always linear, these sort of results and everything else. So I think with all these players, you really need to be patient, and you kind of need to play a long-term game of who's going to be the best player for yourself in the future. That's who the Montreal Canadiens selected. With that in mind, who's not going to be their best player for them next year, the year after that in the draft, but down the road, and I still feel like Juraj Slafkovsky is that player as well.
I think so too. I think it's awesome. I think he's showing great potential. Can't wait to see him back in the Habs uniform. All right, well, let's move on to the final topic of the video today. Raphael Harvey-Pinard is ready to make an impact. He had a bit of an interview, a bit of a pretty interesting quote, and we can tell that Raphael Harvey-Pinard, RHP, is not taking anything for granted. Let's take a look. So I'll just try and translate this in English, I suppose, and Jesse, correct me if I make a mistake somewhere around here. You're the native French speaker, I suppose, and well, more so than me at least. But he said this is going to be the biggest training summer of his life that's coming up. He really needs to find another niche to establish himself in the NHL. He said his trainers talk to him and his coaches talk to him about what he needs to improve on. And basically, you know, he said that playing the amount of games that he did, scoring 14 goals, 6 assists in 34 games, really helped him realize what he needs to do to stay in the NHL. And we know Harvey-Pinard went from a 7th-round pick to an AHL-level guy to a high-tier AHL-level guy to just making the NHL with some injuries to being a first-line NHL guy. And he's, again, not taking anything for granted. He wants to work his butt off. He wants to be on this Habs roster. I mean, we've spoken a lot about his attitude, his perseverance. I mean, and this is just reinforcing all the good things we have already said about our boy.
That's so true. And this quote just exactly proves to show why he's going to be successful next year, why he's going to make the Montreal Canadiens like a lot of us do. And a lot of our minds as fans, and I would even say in Martin St. Louis, Kent Hughes, they believe that RHP is going to be on this team next year. But Raphael Harvey-Pinard, he doesn't believe that yet. He's had to fight for everything he has, and he's not done doing that yet. And it's that type of attitude, right, of that lack of entitlement that's really going to just take him so far, because the competition is going to be fierce. He has every reason to believe that he should be on his toes, that he should be training twice as hard on the ice and off this coming off season. So, I mean, it's just great to see, and I hope that word kind of gets out to some other players as well that'll be coming to training camp, that they're going to need to prepare, that he's going to be ready, and they better be also.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think this attitude's amazing. I think the fact he's willing to work on his weaknesses is just the best thing you can ask from a guy like this, a guy who's grinded from essentially being completely overlooked in every aspect to now being a solid NHLer. Awesome to see. really hope the best for him. But that'll do it for this news edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Help us hit 6,000 subs. It'd be a pretty cool milestone. We hit 5,000 not too long ago. We know you guys can help us out in hitting 6. I'm Josh Goss for my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.